No, no, I got that. I figured that out quickly. I was like, wait a second, why am I messing around with Zoom? Um, my whole goal is to just basically create good content with you and chop it up. I think it's good when it's just an organic conversation. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think all that stuff. There's a lot to be learned, and yeah, I'm very versed in those languages. Good. Yep. No, I'm good. I'm ready when you are. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's that's actually the best question you could have asked, and I'll tell you why. When I was 9 years old, I grew up in the city of Chicago, and every one of my friends around me had a bike. Back in the day, Schwinn banana seat bike was the most popular thing, and I didn't have a bike, so I have to run and keep up with my friends on foot. And one day, this company came to my school, and they were selling 3 packs of little mini pizzas. I can't remember the name of the pizza company, but it was a fundraiser, and they gave us this big sheet of paper. I remember like it was yesterday, and it was about this big, and in the middle of it was a Schwinn bike. And if you sold X amount of pizzas for this fundraiser, they gave you the bike. Now there was other things like a volleyball net and a radio and some other stuff, but the bike was the one thing I focused on. So I literally went door to door to door to door around all my neighborhood telling people about this fundraiser, and it wasn't going well. I mean, people were like, "Get out of here! I can buy pizza from the grocery store. Leave me alone." Blah blah blah. And finally, I was getting frustrated. And the next door I knocked on is I said, "Hey, lady, I just want this bike. And you're going to eat pizza and you got kids and I'm trying to get a bike and I don't have a bike. And if you could just buy some of these pizzas, it'll go to my school, it'll help my school. You'll get some pizzas. You guys eat pizza anyhow. And ultimately, I'm trying to get this bike. So if you can help me out, that'd be great." And I literally learned from that one moment in time of just being brutally transparent with the customer. She had bought like 3 6 packs right on the spot. And And then the next one, I said the same thing and the same thing. And I went off the script that they gave us because they gave us some idiotic script that said, "Oh, I am raising funds for my school, and Papatino's Pizza is the best pizza in the world, and this 3-pack is an unbelievable deal." And I'm like, holy fuck, what the hell was I talking about that shit for? I should have told people the truth. So I literally started going door to door and telling people this is my goal. I'm literally sharing with you why I'm doing this. And I worked till 11 o'clock at night one night. And then the next night, I worked all day till 11 o'clock at night on the weekend. And I literally kept going in a radius. And I ultimately went 4 mile radius around my house. Well, at the end of it all, the most 3-packs that had ever been sold for that promotion ever in the history of the project was 62 3-packs. The number of 3-packs that I sold for that promotion was 332 3-packs. I got the bike, I got the volleyball set. I literally started putting an X all over the things that I got. And I started literally crossing out all the things. I literally put an X on everything on that sheet of paper. I got so many prizes that I actually gave a basketball away to one of my friends. I said, "Hey, you can have the basketball. I don't need it." I gave away all kinds of other stuff that I didn't like. The volleyball set I gave away to my neighbor's kids because his daughter wanted it, and I said, "Hey, I don't want a volleyball set. I don't like it." And but the bike, I literally cherished that bike. Now, here's the moral of the story. When they came to the school, the owner of the pizza place came, and we all met in the gymnasium. And we were there, and the owner came out and he's like, "Listen, we've done this promotion before, and never in our history have we had somebody do so well in our history." And he came up and he shook my hand. And he was like, "Listen, I'm so proud of you. You did really good, blah, blah, blah." So then after we broke up from the gymnasium, he told me the good news and the bad news, which was, "Hey, you go on the bike, but I brought a truck driver here that's going to drive a frozen truck and follow you so you can deliver all the pizzas." And I'm like, "What? I got to fucking deliver pizzas?" And these are frozen pizzas too. So we got out of school early that day, and it was like 2 o'clock, late May in Chicago. And if you know the weather in Chicago around then, it's hot. It's hot, and it's like, that's summertime. And so me and this truck driver, we first take my bike and all my stuff to my house, and then he follows me from my house, and I literally go door to door with frozen pizzas. But at 2 in the afternoon, most people aren't home yet, and I had literally a lot of pizzas to deliver. So I started leaving some of the frozen pizzas in the screen door. Well, in Chicago, we have rats, and you don't want to leave pizza in the screen door because the rats smell it and they come out of nowhere. And turns out some people came home, and when they opened their screen door, there was a pile of city rats eating pizzas. And so the next day, I go to school, and I get called to the principal's office, and I see the owner of the pizza company losing his mind. And I'm like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And so they bring me into the principal's office. They're like, "Chris, did you deliver all those pizzas?" I said, "Absolutely. Me and the driver were working until like 12 o'clock at night. We went door to door with that truck, and it was a big box truck." And he's like, "Yeah, you delivered them, but you put them in the doorways." I said, "Yeah, some people weren't home. They were at work. So I just put it in the doorway because what else was I supposed to do?" And I'm a 9-year-old kid at the time. And the guy literally lost his mind. And he's like, "This is such a debacle, such a debacle." And my principal came took me aside, and she's like, "Don't worry about it." He's like, "They probably had some poor planning to let a 9-year-old kid deliver all those pizzas to people's homes." And turns out they stopped doing that promotion after that year because it was just a huge PR nightmare. So many people complained about rats eating their pizzas in the doorways. Well, the funny thing is, aside from the rat part of the story, the part that I wanted people to really embrace is when you talk to your customer, when you talk to your buyers, and you're building a business, be as transparent as possible. And the more transparent you are, even though you think it sounds crazy, the more people will go, "You know what? Okay, I'll buy your pizzas because even though I can go to the grocery store and get my own pizzas, I want to help you. I want to help you get that bike." Well, don't take this wrong. Don't take this wrong. I didn't realize it. I just have a very stubborn streak inside of me, and I was starting to get frustrated. And the script that they gave us, it was like terrible because I went to 10 people, and 10 people told me to basically fuck off, and I was like, yeah, fuck this script. This thing's retarded. And then I just the 11th one, it was a lady I knew, and I just came truthful to her, and when she bought, I was like, that's all I needed was like some validation that this was actually going to work because I all I kept thinking about is these people are saying no to my bicycle. They weren't saying no to the pizza. They were saying no to my dreams. And when people say no to your dreams and you're 9 years old, your brain starts going, okay, we got to figure out a way to solve this problem because that's our dream. We're not giving up. We just got to solve the dream. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, that's actually a really astute point is a lot of startups sometimes never figure out that they're failing. They just keep going. They're hard headed. And while being hard headed is good as a startup because you stay determined, you stay the course. Sometimes you have to say to yourself, wait a second, let me try something else because this ain't working. And if it ain't working, don't be scared to try something else. Don't be scared to change the script because at the end of the day, if it's not working, you got to listen to the customer. Most people don't realize God gave you two ears and one mouth. You got to listen, and when you listen to the feedback that you're getting and you decipher it, you sometimes find golden nuggets inside of all that information. Yeah, no. When he said we got to deliver the pizzas, and I was inside the auditorium with all my friends from school, and he said that, I was like, "What the hell?" that was one. It was one of the things that we didn't actually pay close attention to. And by the way, for my friends that only sold like 9 3-packs or 10 3-packs, that was easy because they sold it mostly to their friends and family and relatives. But me, I sold like 300 3-packs. I was like sitting there going, "Holy shit!" Well, I didn't think of it as punishment, but I will say it actually made me realize in life that you got to look at the fine print because when you're 9 years old, all you're focused on is the bicycle. You didn't read the fine print that said, "Hey, idiot, you gotta deliver these pizzas." Yeah, so the driver, he didn't care. He just was like, "Listen, I want to get home to my family." He wanted to get the pizzas out the door. I don't think he really cared. and he was just smoking a cigarette and driving. And the funny thing is, I had to, as a young kid, keep running back to the box truck and opening it up and literally grabbing some more pizzas. As a kid, I was basically very nimble like a monkey, and I would literally jump on that truck, grab some pizzas, shut the back door, and then run. And it was funny because he never had to get out of the truck. He just stayed in the truck. It was hot, so he kept the air conditioning on his truck. I will say one thing. I made sure I delivered every pizza that everyone had coming to him. Whether the rats got to him or not is a whole different story. But I will say one thing. That one experience taught me so many lessons. But one of the big lessons it told me was not only, make the sale, but also follow through, because I felt a responsibility to everyone that believed in me. I actually looked them all in the eyes and I said to myself, you know what? I don't care if it's midnight. I'm delivering these people their pizzas. And by the way, just so we're clear, most people, as it got later in the night, were home, and I gave them actually their pizzas. I handed it to them. So not everyone got their pizza stuck in the doorway so the rats could get it. Just a few people, not as many as it was sound. No, yeah, so my father divorced my mother or she divorced him when I was 4 years old. So he left the picture at four, and then my mother left shortly thereafter. My grandmother raised me most of my life, and at 17 and 18, I moved out on my own. I think part of my life journey was that I knew independence at a very early age. I knew to count on myself. I think as children, we many times grow up and we rely on others to solve problems for us. And whether it was doing my homework or whether it was, selling pizzas or whatever, I knew that I had to count on me. I knew that if it was up, there was an old saying that my grandmother taught me: if it is to be, it is up to me. And I grew up my whole childhood on that saying. And I think it made me very strong and independent. I was never one to look around for somebody to help me fix my problems. Whether I fixed them the right way or the wrong way, I'd fix problems. So it's funny, pretty much all of my life, like literally all of my life, God has sent people into my life, and I consider them like angels. Like God, when I'm in trouble, God sends me an angel, a person, a human being that basically is there to help me and guide me and nurture me. And I didn't really understand much about God growing up. But when I was 16, 17, I used to play basketball at the park almost every day. And this guy named Jim Schultz, who was a youth pastor, was probably one of the best basketball players I ever played with. He was unbelievably talented. Great short guard, but very quick, had unbelievable dribbling skills. And him and I became friends, and I got enamored with him. And I remember like it was yesterday. The first time he asked me about God and do I believe in God, I looked at him with a straight face. I said, "No, I'm an atheist. There is no God." Now that was because I was a pissy little kid and I didn't understand how much God had done for me, and I was very frustrated with the life I'd been given. But he looked at me and he said, "Let's have a talk." And over the whole summer of playing basketball with him, he brought me to God. He brought God to me, and he taught me how lucky I am. He taught me how many gifts I've been given. He taught me about the Bible. He taught me about so many things, and truly, he was the biggest influence in my life when it came to my faith. Literally, I mean, there's been other people along my road, but he made me realize there is a God, and God listens to me, and God's there every single day for me. And that even when I don't think he's there doing things for me, sometimes God takes people away from my table. And I think, oh man, why are those people no longer in my life? Why did they slam the door to me? And I started realizing God took them away so he can put somebody at the table that's better for me. And sometimes God shuts one door and opens another one because that door was going to be a bad idea. That was going to be a bad situation. Well, I don't think I knew, but I started understanding when Jim would teach me that God plays a role in your life even when you don't think he's playing a role in your life. And I just started realizing as later in life that the people that he took away from me, he took them away from my table in life. He took those people away so he could bring somebody better to me. He took those people away sometimes because they were just bad. They were bad characters, bad intentions. They were just bad. Yeah, I'd put it in a different term. I think God made me a little bit of a prick sometimes, and people that have bad intentions, I sometimes piss those people off. Could be my foul language, it could be my ornery attitude, it could be a lot of things. But I think God gave me those ingredients to basically make people want to leave my table because sometimes their intentions are bad and they're looking for a weaker mind. That's another thing too. Is when I grew up because I had to harden my mind. I had to literally harden myself mentally. And the interesting thing about that is when you harden your mind, you sometimes become a little rough around the edges. But there are people that literally want to take advantage of you in life. There's a lot of them. They're all around you. And they want to take advantage of you. And those people skip right past me because for whatever reason, they just realize, fuck, this guy is not weak minded. This guy is not easily pliable. This guy is not easily manipulated. And by the way, on top of it, not only is he not these things, but he seems like an asshole. And if he catches on to our bullshit, he's probably going to fucking either try and get into a fight with us or yell at us or swear at us. So let's just leave him alone and find somebody that's weak minded, somebody we can manipulate, and somebody that's easily taken advantage of. And I look at that as a gift because when I thought growing up was tough and it made me harder or tougher, when I thought that that was a bad thing, God gave it to me as a gift because it helped me scare away a lot of the people that are looking for somebody weak minded to take advantage of. Maybe I think I was just poor, and when you're poor, you just when you're poor, you either accept being poor and you cry about it, or you figure out ways to not be poor. And when I had an opportunity to get a bicycle that I couldn't buy, that my grandmother couldn't afford, when I've had an opportunity to get this Schwinn bicycle and I didn't have one, and all my friends had one, there was something that went off inside my head that said, "There's no fucking way I am not going to get that bike. And I just, it's weird because I knew the second I saw that bicycle, I knew I was going to get that bicycle. I knew it. Like I just literally knew that that bike was going to be mine. And I literally knew that I was going to go door to door and sell these pizzas to people. It just, I don't know how to explain it at 9 years old. I just knew that that bike was going to be mine. And I figured it's just going to happen. And when the first 10 people, I read that script, first 10 people are like, get away, shut the door, get away, shut the door. And I'm like, this is this is terrible. Whose idea was this? This is stupid. So I knock on the next one. I'm like, man, I live right down the street. I just wanted to show you something. This bike means the world to me. And I'm trying to get this bike. And in order to get this bike, I have to sell these 3 packs of pizza. Now, you got kids and they eat pizza and you eat pizza. And if you could just buy some pizzas for me instead of the grocery store, I got a chance to get this bike. Now, I'm not asking for a miracle. I'm just asking her to buy pizzas. And she literally opened up the door and she goes, come here. Let me get a bunch of those from you. She's like, have a great day. And then I walked away and I got her money and I was like, oh shit, this worked. So then I went to the next one and ma'am, I'm trying to get a bike and it just worked. Like people were like, let me help you out, buddy. And it was funny because I started realizing all I had to do was tell people transparently what I really wanted. I don't care about you buying the pizza. I want the bike. The pizza is just a way for me to get the bike. And, people are like, people didn't care if it was award winning pizza, 3 delicious, tasty, small morsels, blah, 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 family recipe, all the shit that they gave you in the stupid script. They just wanted to know, they wanted to be a part of my journey. They wanted to be a part of my dream. And then later that night, when I looked at all the sales I made and I had all this money in me, I had to bring the money to school too. And I brought all the money. And it's unbelievable because my teacher, she's like, where'd you get all this money? I'm like, from all these people. And she's like, where'd you get all those people? I'm like, I went door to door. She's like, she's like, that's unbelievable. She goes, that's great. And she didn't know what to do, but she put my money in a bunch of envelopes from the pizza company because the pizza company only gave everyone like one envelope. I had so much money, singles and fives, they had to do like 11 envelopes. And she's like, okay, Chris, we'll make sure he gets all the money in the pizzas. I had, I had to work. I made a decision very early on in life that I wanted to see the world, and so I was pretty successful at 18 at selling timeshare. I don't know if you're familiar with timeshare, basically fractional ownership of a vacation property, and there was a place in Chicago called Resorts International, and it was in Oak Brook, a nice neighborhood. And I literally was selling timeshare there. And out of 250 salespeople, I was third on the first month, second on the third month, second month, and on the third month, I was number one. But even when I was number one, I only made like $2,400 that month, which I guess back then was different. But I started realizing, wait a second, this isn't as good as I thought it would be. This is horrible. And so I'm basically sitting through a video process and telling people, yeah, here, sign here and spend this money to buy a timeshare. So one night I had this couple, a black man and his wife, and they looked at me and they're like, you're an unbelievable salesperson. I said, great, I appreciate that. And he's like, why are you selling this shit? And I'm like, because this is my job and I'm good at it. They're like, well, you should be a commodity broker. And I'm like, what the hell's a commodity broker? And then he told me, and he's like, yeah, my company downtown is hiring. You should come and interview. And I'm like, okay, what do you make? And he's like, I make over $100,000 a year. And all I heard was $100,000 a year in my ear. And I was like, fuck this job. I'm coming to work with you tomorrow. So he gave me his business card. And I remember the next day I woke up and I called and nobody answered. And I realized, holy shit, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's there yet. So I tried at 7. Nobody's there yet. 7:30, finally, I get a human being. And this lady picks up, and then she's like, yeah, she's like, the guy you want to talk to is Peter Marin. Hold on, I'll put you through to him. And I remember Peter like it was yesterday. And so I get, hello, Peter Marin. I said, Peter, my name's Chris. I met one of your guys last night, and he said, you're hiring. I just want you to know I'm an excellent salesperson. I'm currently number one at selling timeshare and blah, blah, blah. So we talked for like 35 minutes. The guy was like, oh, you're unbelievable. You're super charismatic. You're a great speaker. You're great. Oh, this is great. You're going to be phenomenal at this. You're going to be unbelievable at this. Let's get you in for an interview. Can you come in today at noon? I said, sure. He's like, that's awesome. He goes, what college did you graduate from? I said, I didn't graduate from college. He's like, don't worry, that's not a requirement. He goes, by the way, how old are you, and what's been some of your work history? I said it proudly. I'm 18, and I've been working at Resorts International. And he's like, you're what? I'm like, I'm 18. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, I'm 18. He was like, but you say you have a deep voice. I've always had a deep, raspy voice. I'm like, okay, well, I'm 18 and I have a deep voice. He's like, oh man, I can't hire you. I said, why? Is there an age limit? He's like, no, but you're too young. I said, too young for what? He's like, there's nobody been your age that's been doing this. He's like, I can't hire you. I'm like, what are you talking about? You spent a half hour telling me how great I was. He's like, and this is where all of a sudden my defense mechanism goes off, because I'm like, this guy's trying to keep me from this job, and this job is like a good paying job. And he's like, listen, you don't even know anything about sales. And now when he said that, I read books about sales, Augmentino, all the books. And I was like, all right, motherfucker, I know a lot about sales. And so he's like, you don't know anything about sales. And if you did, you'd close me on an interview. And he said those words. And I looked at the phone and I thought to myself, he said, come by at noon. I said, all right, I'll be there at noon. I hung up. And I said, he didn't say no. And so I hung up. So I was in such a hurry. I grabbed my stuff, but I forgot to grab my wallet. And I drove my car to the train station because it was an easy shot to take the train downtown. And I took the train downtown to Chicago. I got off on Jackson. Their office was at 209 West Jackson. So I get up there on the 9th floor. And as I'm sitting in the lobby, I walk into the girl. I said, hey, I'm here to see Peter Marin. I know him early. I'll just sit down and get comfortable for a while. And she's like, okay. And then she calls Peter, and I can hear her talking to him. And she's like, excuse me, sir. Peter said he's not going to see you. And I said, well, we have an appointment, so I'm going to stay here, and we're going to see each other. And she's like, yeah, she's like, well, Peter doesn't want to interview you. I said, well, we have an appointment, so I'm here. I'd appreciate it if you just gave me 5 minutes. I'm sure if he says no, I'll leave. And she's like, okay. So literally he made me wait there for hours. But while I was waiting, I started grabbing all their brochures, all their books. I literally read everything about the company. I knew so much about the company, so much about commodities, so much about the industry, so much about the Board of Trade, soybean oil contracts. I literally read everything I could. And finally, at lunchtime, he had to come through the front of the office to get out to go to lunch. And I see him. And I knew already what he looked like because I asked the receptionist, I said, hey, which one of these guys is Peter Marin? She's like, I'm not supposed to say anything, but she's like, it's that guy. I'm like, got it. And I made friends with the receptionist, got her some coffee once, blah, blah, blah. She got me some coffee. And then, because there's like a coffee thing right off to the side. And so when I see him, I step up. I said, Peter, it's Chris. Nice to meet you. And my grandmother, one thing she taught me always is when you meet somebody, when you get in their presence, reach out your hand, shake them, give them a real handshake. Give them a real. By the way, if anybody's watching this, learn how to shake somebody's hand. Give them a real handshake. Do not give them the milk and the udders. Don't give them like something that's loose. Grab that hand like you mean something and literally grab onto it and give them a good handshake. And I said, Peter, it's Chris. I said, we spoke on the phone this morning. He goes, I know who you are. And he's like, and my hand's out there. He wouldn't shake it. I said, nice to meet you, Peter. And I push it out even further. And finally, he shakes my hand. And I grab it hard. And I give him a firm handshake. And he looks at me and he goes, that's a hell of a handshake. I said, I appreciate it. I said, why don't we take 5 minutes? And I promise you, if you ask me to leave, I'll leave. But I just want to have a chance, a shot. Just give me a shot at this. And he's like, I'm going to lunch. You've caught me at a bad time. And one of the guys I work with him, who ultimately became one of my best friends, Mike Nene, looked at him. He's like, Pete, kid's been here all day. He's read everything he can. He's literally made friends with everybody in the company. Give him 5 minutes. We'll wait for you downstairs. And so anyhow, we go into his office. Pete's like 6'6", tall guy. I'm looking at him the whole time. I'm like, fuck. And so he's like, sit down. So we end up talking for an hour in his office. He just loves me. Like, he's like, you're great. You're awesome. You're unbelievable. He keeps telling me that. So I'm thinking in the back of my head, fuck yeah, I got this job. And he's like, you're the best. You did a lot of self-learning. You learned everything about the company. You know so much. He goes, you're aggressive. That's everything. That's a quality we look for, blah, 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 blah. And in my head, I'm thinking, fuck, I got this job. This job is in the bag. And all of a sudden he starts this bullshit again where he's like, but I just, I can't hire an 18-year-old kid. I just can't do it. But if you go to college for a couple of years, I swear, if you come back in 4 years, I will have a job waiting for you. And now I've like literally given him every reason to hire me, and I'm just frustrated. And I'm like, finally, I just lost my mind. I'm like, he had this big glass desk table. And I looked at him, I said, fuck it. And I said, I don't need a job in 4 years. I need a job today. I took my two hands and I hit the glass part of his desk. And I got up and I was like, I appreciate the opportunity. Well, I didn't realize as I was walking out of his office, his glass started going like this. And it was on these like two big rock pillar things. And it was a fancy desk, but it started sliding forward and all his phone and his paperwork, everything he's trying to hold the desk. And I didn't realize it. The desk fell forward. So I go in the hallway and he had this painting on the wall. I remember I spun it in a circle and it's spinning in a circle. And I was like pissed. I was like, fuck, I thought I had that job. And he comes flying. I was like, get back in this office. Get back in this office. And I'm like looking at him like, fuck, this 6'6" guy's going to beat my ass for breaking his desk. And so they're like, sit down. I'm like, no. He's like, sit down. I'm like, no. He's like, sit down. I'm like, no. He's like, why won't you sit down? I'm like, I'll be honest with you. I think you're going to hit me. he's like, I'm not going to hit you. And then he's trying to lift his desk up on one side, but it's this big glass piece. So I get on the other side and I try to help him. He's like, don't touch it. Don't touch it. I'm like, now I just can't help it. I start laughing. I'm like, listen, buddy, I'll give you a hand with the glass. I apologize. I didn't know it was going to come off like that. And we get the glass piece back on there, and he asks the receptionist to come in and help him pick up all his paper. And she's picking up paper, and I pick up the phone. He's like, put the phone down. And he's like, what, pacing around behind me. And I'm looking up over my head. I'm like, I swear, I fucking think this guy's going to hit me. And he's like walking back and forth. And I could keep an eye on him. And he's like, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I can't believe I'm going to do this. And I'm like, holy fuck, he is going to hit me. He's fucking chalking himself into hitting me. And he's like, I can't believe I'm going to do this. Now he's like further away. And I'm like, holy fuck, what's wrong with this guy? And he's like, all right, listen. He goes, you got one chance. You get one chance to pass your Series 7 or Series 3. Yeah, I think it's Series 3. You got one chance to pass your test. If you don't pass that test, I don't want to fucking ever see you again. Do you hear me? I don't care if you go to college and come back 4 years later. You get one chance. And I looked at him like, did this guy fucking just hire me? So I had to ask him. I said, did you just hire me? He's like, you got one chance to pass the test. Go see Arthur. Fill out your paperwork. And I swear to God, if you have a criminal record, you're not going to work here. I said, holy fuck, I think I just got the job. So I met this guy, Arthur Barbado. And normally people had 6 weeks to study for this test, the Series 3. And he said, all right, Pete wants you on the schedule for the next test. The next test is in 12 days. And I was, growing up in school, I liked school, but I didn't like studying. And I was just gifted. I was naturally gifted when it came to grades. I got good grades in math, and I was fairly smart as a kid growing up, but I hated studying. And he's like, okay, so here's all the study material. And he gave me this book, and it was like this thick. And I was like, what the fuck? And I looked, and I'm looking, and I started reading it the first day, and they like let me come in the office to study. And Arthur was the guy that was supposed to help me. I read like one chapter, and I went up to him. I'm like, listen, I don't know what the fuck's going on here, but you want me to read this and pass some test with a 70% or better in 12 days? I need more time. This thing's like the fucking Bible. And he looked at me. He goes, listen, Pete's been very clear. You get one shot. It's in 12 days. You gotta get your shit together. He goes, why don't you try something? He goes, maybe you just don't learn by reading. Maybe you learn by writing things out. He goes, why don't you write down notes from the book? So I took it as literal, and I literally went and got 14 yellow pads, front to back, and I wrote every word in that book out. I wrote every word. I wrote the book on yellow pads. And I thought he meant write out the book. So I just wrote it all out. Well, sure as heck, when you write up a book on yellow paper, both front and back, after a while, you just naturally remember all that shit because you just wrote it all down. And literally, I remember like I went 12 days later and I took the test, and they're like, okay, you got 2.5 hours. I remember it was 2.5 hours to take the test. And there was a bunch of other people there taking tests, insurance exam, Series 7. And you had to like just, not touch screen, but you had to pick, answers off a screen. And the one thing that Arthur told me is like, when you go take the test, think about the answer, give the answer, but don't change the answer. You're gonna have the inclination to want to change your answer, thinking that you might be wrong. So we had 2.5 hours, and I just didn't change my answers. And I got through to the end, and it said, "Do you want to submit your test to get your score?" Because it was electronic. It literally told you right away what your score was. And I'm nervous, and I'm thinking, "Fuck." There's a couple of those questions I wasn't too sure about, but in the back of my head, I got Arthur telling me, "Don't change your answers." So I didn't change them. I said, "Fuck it, let's go." And I hit the thing, and it's like 73%, and I just needed 70% or more to pass. And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" But there was no paper; it was just on the screen. So I'm thinking, "Holy fuck! How do I get this to the lady at the front so I can get it in writing?" Because there's no fucking way that Peter's going to believe me that I passed the test. And so I go to the front desk and I'm like, "Ma'am, how do I get the score off the screen so that I have a printout?" She's like, "Oh, we give you that. We authenticate it when you're done with the test." She's like, "You better hurry up. You only got an hour left." I said, "No, I finished already. I got a 73." She's like, "What do you mean you finished?" I said, "I finished." She goes, "Nobody finishes an hour and a half." I'm like, "I'm done. Go check." So I brought her back, and she literally brought, and she saw the screen because I left it on that page. It was like 73. And she's like, "Well, congratulations." And I said, "Yeah, but I need that because my boss will never believe me that I passed." And she's like, "Don't worry, we'll send it in a couple of days." I said, No, I need you to write a note saying that I've got a 73. I mean, back then we didn't have iPhones to take a picture of the screen. So we go to the front desk and she writes this note and she signs it. She goes, "Give him this. And if he has a question, he can call me. I'm sitting here all day." I said, "Oh, thanks." And I'm like super pumped. And I get in this cab to go back to the office. And I remember like it was yesterday. I've got this paper from the lady and I'm super pumped. I'm super hyped. I'm young. I'm 18. I'm super jacked. And I'm telling this cab driver, he's from Pakistan or something. He doesn't understand a fucking word I said. And he's like, "I don't know, but it sounds like you're happy." And I said, "What the fuck?" And I'm just like ready to tell somebody, anybody. So I get to the building that we're out of at 209 West Jackson, get in the elevator, go to the, I think, 9th or 12th floor, go flying out. I told the girl at the front desk, I said, "I fucking passed." She was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah." So I ran into the office, and Peter had like a line of guys waiting to see him. There's like 6, 7, 8 guys. And I literally go into his office. He's at an office on the trading floor. And I literally go into his office. I said, I threw the paper on the table and I passed. He said, "The fuck you passed?" He goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I passed." He goes, "You should still be taking the test. What are you talking about?" I said, "I finished early. The lady gave me a note. I passed. I got a 73. So all the rest of the guys are laughing. They don't believe it's true. They think I'm fucking around with them. And I'm like, here's her card. You can call her." So he calls her. "Hello, this is Peter Marin." And that was a big thing. He had like this big, fake, deep voice. "This is Peter Marin." And he, like, the lady, I can see the expression on his face. She's explaining to him that I got a 73. And he's like, "Are you sure, ma'am?" "Yes." You actually work for the CFTC, which is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission?" She's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, thank you, ma'am." And then he hangs up. He's like, "All right, you passed. You got 30 days to get your first client. Otherwise, you're getting the fuck out of here." I'm like, first I had 12 days to pass a test that everyone had 6 weeks to pass. And now I got 30 days to get my first client when everyone wasn't even on any time limit. They could get a client in their first 6. I had new guys out there that hadn't gotten a client in 3 months. I'm like, but that's okay. I thought to myself, fuck 30 days. That's easy. And he's like, "You can have that desk." And it was a desk with a booth. And I remember they gave me like these horseshit leads and investors that had told everyone, "No, no fucking way. No, no, no." And I remember I'm sitting there, I'm working till 1 in the morning one night, and there's nobody in the office. Everyone left hours ago. And I talked to a guy named Sammy, Verdell Salmon, out of Iowa. You got it. I don't even know if he's still alive today. And he was a soybean farmer. And me and him just hit it off. And I got rid of the script. There's another script that I said, fuck that shit. I'm just going to talk to Sammy. And we started talking about sports and farming and women and life. And he got to like me. And once he got to like me, out of nowhere, just out of nowhere, we're just talking. I didn't even ask him. He's like, "Hey, Chris, how about I send you 25,000? We buy, we buy some of that old crude oil that you're pitching me on." And I thought to myself, I'm like, okay. And I just realized I don't even know how to get somebody on board as a client. Back then, I had the overnight paperwork via Federal Express and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, "Hey, Verdell, I just started, and I got to be honest with you. I don't even know what to do next, but if you can let me call you tomorrow, I'm pretty sure we'll figure it out." He goes, "Don't worry, Chris. Whatever you need, just let me know." He goes, "I like you." And that was when I started realizing there's no script in life that's going to help you sell somebody in life. In life, you have to let people get to know you. They have to get to like you. And some people, my grandmother taught me a lesson a long time ago. She said, "Chris, son, in life, 40% of the people you meet are going to like or love you. 20% are going to be indifferent. And 40% are not going to like you. They might even hate you." She said, "When you meet the people that love you, show them love. When you meet the people that are indifferent, show them respect. And the other 40%, fuck them all. Don't waste your time with any of them." And my grandmother came on a Navy ship from Germany, and she thought the word fuck was part of the English language. So growing up, we learned the word fuck a lot. And I just started realizing that people buy from people they like. And if you just get people to let them get to know you, they're either going to like you or they're not. And if they don't like you, you can't use any special sauce or magic to get them to like you. You just have to be yourself. You have to put your genuine, authentic, transparent self out there. And if they like that part of you, then they're going to like you. They're going to do anything with you. They're going to help you on your journey. But if they don't like you, you can't force people to like you. That's another thing. People in this social media craze that we live in, they want to try and get everyone to love them. And that's just not the way the world works. Some people just don't love you. Maybe you got a fucked up nose. Maybe they just don't like people without hair. Whatever. Those people are just never going to love you, and you can't worry about them. I got a book coming out this summer that says zero fucks. You have to literally have zero fucks about people on social media. We live in a day and age where little kids, especially little girls, have so much pressure to be liked on social media. I can count on one hand how many people I care whether they like me or not. And one of them is Almighty God. And at the end of the day, those are the people that matter to me. But at the end of the day, we got kids that are growing up under so much pressure to get everyone to like you. And we need to start teaching our kids not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. Show the people that like you love. Show the people that are indifferent respect. And for the rest of the people that don't like you, fuck them. So it's funny because in 2017, I had been investing in something called Bitcoin for a long time. And partly by accident, because a friend of mine in Israel called me up out of the blue one day, and he was a big gamer and he loved video games. And he needed me to PayPal him money so he could buy this thing called Bitcoin. I thought it was some sort of video game thing. And then finally, he said, "Hey, you should buy some too." And I'm like, "I'm only going to buy some because you always need it all the time. So I'll just buy it, and I'll have it. I'll have it in case you need it." And so I bought some Bitcoin, and it was the most insane shit I've ever seen. Like I had to download this thing called a QT wallet. I had to get it to work on my laptop at the time. And I remember I bought a bunch of it, and I didn't even know. I just held it for him because it was like, I bought like $300 worth back then. And I started realizing every day, I started like a year later watching the news, and all of a sudden on CNBC, they're like, "Oh, in other news today, Bitcoin went to $160." I remember when I bought it, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Shit was like 30 cents. That's a real thing. And I remember I bought a new laptop in the meantime. So I had to find my old laptop that had this thing called a QT wallet on it because you couldn't transfer the wallet, or at least I didn't know how to. Long story short, I had quite a bit of Bitcoin now in value. And I thought to myself, holy shit, can I get money for this stuff? So I sent it to this place called Mount Gox, and I started getting $5,000 a day via Venmo. And I was like, holy shit, this stuff's real. And I started reading as much as I could about Bitcoin. And I started realizing this is the people's money. This is the best form of money I've ever seen in my life. So in 2017, I gave a talk at Comdex, which is a big computer show. And for the first time ever, they had a Bitcoin area. And I was the last speaker of the day. And I'm talking about my journey and blah, blah, blah. And I told everyone in the crowd, I said, hey, listen, I've had a great journey in Bitcoin. I've just become a recent Bitcoin millionaire. How about we all go to dinner? He goes, dinner's on me at my friend's sushi place at 6:00. Turns out I threw a dinner for had to be at least 120, 130 people. The bill was like 29 grand. I had to use like multiple credit cards. They kept like the fraud alert kept turning my credit cards off. I had to get on the phone with the credit card company. No, I really want to pay this. So I paid for the dinner, and everyone came up to me. They're like, hey, when are you doing this again? I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? I spent 30 grand on dinner. I'm not doing this again. It's like, no, I'll pay to come to it. So I started throwing these dinners, almost like high value networking. And I started meeting people that were building projects in Bitcoin and crypto. And I invested here and there and here and there, and I helped them raise money. And from 2017 till today, that's been my journey as an investor. It probably happened by accident or fate, whichever one you want to believe in. Well, from that experience, I started realizing, and I've done over 260 private dinners, breakfasts, and lunches. I learned something very valuable from that experience. Also, high value people are valuable connections. They can help you level up your business, your life, many different ways. But you're not going to meet those high value people talking on a stage to an audience. And I've been on numerous stages where I've talked to an audience. And I started realizing one time when I was in the audience watching this next speaker speak, I started realizing when I looked from the stage out to the audience, when you're speaking, everyone's on their phone, tweeting, Instagramming, texting, checking emails, looking at porn, whatever. And I thought to myself, the fuck am I wasting my time up here talking for? Nobody gives a shit. They're more involved in their phone. But I realized when you get people out at dinner, you get a room full of 100 people at dinner and they're all high value, those people put their phone away. They don't look at their phone. They're having food with you. And when somebody has food in their mouth and you start talking to that room, they're all listening. They got food in their mouth. They're all listening. And I started realizing that's where you want to do. You don't need a big auditorium full of people. You need a restaurant full of 100 high value people, because those are the great connections you're going to make. Those are the real connections you're going to make. Deep, meaningful connections. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I bring certain value to the table above and beyond money. And some entrepreneurs, they're too nice. They're just sometimes too soft. So they need somebody to teach them how to ask for money or how to lead. I started realizing not all entrepreneurs, especially technical ones, are great leaders. And they need somebody to help them lead others or lead investors or actually just speak. Like a lot of things that I teach people is how to communicate. Some technical people, they'll try and give you all the things that they need, but they're asking you for this down here, and they give you 100 points of why they're asking you this, and I tell them, listen, nobody gives a shit about this. Talk about this and just focus on that piece right there. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, nobody cares how you built the Tesla. They just want to know, how do I get a Tesla? Shout out to Elon Musk. I don't want to offend you, buddy. I mean, nobody gives a shit how you built the Tesla. I'm sure somebody does. And that Elon learned that very quickly too. He's an autistic genius who realizes, hey, nobody gives a shit how I built this thing. Nobody gives a shit about the rocket. He owns a rocket company. You know what he tells people? We're going to Mars. That's it. We're going to Mars. 4 words. And people have to ask you, hey, what do you think about Elon's rocket company? He's going to Mars. That's literally all everyone talks about. That fucker's going to Mars. He doesn't explain to them how he created the first rocket that lands back and lands, without crashing, and how he's got the chopsticks that catches the other rocket. Nobody gives a shit about the chopsticks or how it lands. He's going to Mars. That fucker is going to Mars. He's going in about 2 or 4 years. It's crazy. Sometimes what's right in front of you, you have to just take it for what it is. You have to. Some people sometimes look at what's right in front of them, but then they look beyond it to try and see if there's something else behind it. Sometimes it's just this. Don't make it more than it is. It's just this. I think even the failures, all of them, I learned so much from each one. And I don't look at it as a business or a investment as a baby. I look at it as a journey, as part of my journey, something that I can learn from. And that's the other thing too. A lot of people fall in love with their investments. They literally fall in love with their investments, and they become so engaged in this one investment. And when it fails, it crushes you. And I've learned that you just got to sometimes put 10 investments together, and the one that you least expect sometimes becomes the big one. And the one that's something, in most cases, the one that's the simplest problem that it's solving the simplest solutions. Those are the ones that do really well. But other people, they make one investment, they talk about it on social media, and they get so excited about it. And for example, Ty Lopez, he made all these investments buying these defunct, bankrupt companies. He raised like 100 million, and he never talks about it anymore because that venture failed. But he was, for a while there, he's like, I'm gonna make Radio Shack big again. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. In reality, it was a huge failure. He invested his whole brand into Radio Shack and 21 Pier or whatever. And then he lost all these friends. He lost all these people because he didn't succeed. He didn't execute. When in reality, you can't fall in love with one investment. You gotta invest based on a set of criteria. Go with your gut instinct. Things that you like, but let it grow. You got to be like a Johnny Appleseed, where you're planting a seed. Your money is just a seed. You wanna nurture it and help it grow, but you can't get obsessed, because guess what? If you watch a plant every day, it won't grow. But if you walk away and come back 30 days later, you'll see a little sprout. Come back 30 days later, you'll see a bigger sprout. 6 months later, you'll see a beautiful plant. And that's by letting it grow. You got to let your investments grow. That's one thing I've learned, is you can't be so overbearingly obsessed with one investment. You got to let your investments grow. You got to be patient. Investing requires patience. A lot of my capital investments are in startups, yes, but I mean, I have a portfolio of other things that I invest in. I do private events and dinners around. I just got back from the Super Bowl. I've got one coming up for the NFL draft in Green Bay. I love sports, and I literally throw private events where athletes and fans can get a chance to meet each other, along with brands. I put brands in the room with them so that brands can literally work with these athletes. Yeah, yeah. Somebody has to pay the dinner bill. The dinner bill gets pretty big sometimes. Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way. I think my biggest message to the world is that faith matters. Now, people always think, oh, when you're talking about faith, you're talking about God. And I am talking about God. But in my book, I talk more about faith in yourself. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. You have to have faith in yourself. When you were born, God made us all to be great. In fact, when you're born, I believe that God whispers in our ear, greatness is your destiny, my child. But the world convinces us that we weren't destined to be great, that greatness wasn't part of our roadmap, part of our plan. And I want people to know that you have to have faith in yourself every day. Believe that you are here for something great. They can find me on social media. I am Chris Champion. I am Chris Champion. Or they can find me at my house where my dog seems to be wanting to bark all the time. I'm a single dad of three dogs, so sometimes when the Amazon driver comes, my dogs assume that he's here to try and kill me. He is a protector. I'll give him that. I appreciate it. And you know what? We should talk. We should chop it up one other time down the road. I'd love to interview you and keep the story going, and see what we can do. I think we had a great talk. I think there's a lot to be learned from this talk. I hope people get some valuable lessons out of this talk. Well, don't fool yourself. Yeah, it was never me on my own. It was always God. God's a shepherd. I'm a That it is. I will say we live in a time where a lot of people quit on themselves long before. If they just keep going a little bit and they don't quit on themselves, I think society, children today quit on themselves much faster than when I grew up. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what changed. Maybe it was the fluoride in the water. Maybe it's something that they're teaching in schools. Maybe they have a class where they teach you how to quit. But children today have to be raised differently, and they have to be told, just never quit. Do not give up on yourself. Never fucking quit. Well, it's funny you mention that, and I want to let people know this very clearly. The team of people that are in charge of our country right now, not just Trump, but the entire team he's surrounded himself with, they are angels. They are sent from God above. They are truly the best leadership team we've ever had to put this country back together. And what the demons that were in charge of our country were doing is just now being uncovered and being brought to light. And believe me, these people have been stealing and committing fraud and money laundering. And they didn't do millions of dollars. They didn't do billions of dollars. They did trillions of dollars. And these people hated Americans. They hated the 350 million people that roll up their sleeves and go to work every day. And now, for the first time, America is literally cleaning itself up. And literally, it was literally good against evil. It was very clearly defined. The people that were evil were mutilating children and literally telling boys that they're girls and girls that they're boys. And truly, there's nothing in the Bible. There's nothing that God wants to do. When God brings you into this world, he brings you in as a girl or a boy. That's God's decision. He didn't fuck that one up. God doesn't make a mistake. Well, it's funny. It's funny. For years, I've never been afraid to call out politicians or tell people where I stand. And people are like, oh my God, don't talk about politics. Don't talk about politics. Listen, I'm an American. I love this country. If I don't speak out, if I can't be a strong voice, if I can't speak out, who the fuck is going to? And by the way, America has far less men that are strong men than it ever has. America needs more strong men. America kids need more strong fathers. The black community needs more strong fathers. Everybody needs a strong father. This country was built by strong men. We need more strong men. You've got to be strong enough to speak your mind in America and not worry about what the fuck the world says. Because some people, they're going to hate you. Some people going to like and love you, and some people are going to respect you. And there's a way to treat all of those people. But at the end of the day, when strong men become fearful of what they can say publicly, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. Hey, guess what? Maybe God doesn't want you to have that job. Maybe God wants you to be a strong man, and he wants you to not rely on somebody else to give you a paycheck. And at the end of the day, I learned a long time ago, oh my God, don't talk about politics. No, speak it loud. Don't talk about God and religion. No, speak it loud. Listen, you're just speaking. If somebody doesn't want to hear you, they can just turn you off. They can change the channel. They can mute you. They can do whatever they want. They don't have to listen. But the ones that do, you need to speak loud and clear and let them know this is right and this is wrong. This is good, this is bad. And literally give them the message. Because if you can't be the messenger, then what the fuck are you doing here? God wants you to be a messenger. God wants you to share your stories. God wants you to speak loud and clear. Look at what they're doing in Germany to old people, like really old people who literally posted something online. They're throwing them in fucking jail. Oh my God, you said something online that we don't agree with. They're throwing old people in jail. Are you out of your fucking mind? Are you out of your And in America, we're sending money to be money laundered to Ukraine when we've got homeless people, homeless old people, homeless veteran people living on the streets. We don't need to send $200 billion to a midget comedian who's a criminal. We need to solve the problem of our country. And one of the greatest problems we have is a homeless crisis. We also have a mental health crisis. We have people that are batshit crazy. Anybody that raises their child and the age of 3 years old wants to start feeding them medication and castrating them to turn them from a boy to a girl. At 3 years old, I was eating rocks and dirt. Don't believe what a kid wants at three. We don't even know what's going on at 3 years old. We're just learning about life. Well, I always tell people this: if you believe there is a God, you have to believe there is a devil. If you believe there is a God, whatever God, you could be Jewish, you could be Christian, you could be Muslim. If you believe there is a good, you have to believe there is an evil. And if you realize the day you start realizing that if there is a God, there is a devil, then you have to understand God's hand is doing this work, and he's as busy as he can be, but the devil is also doing his work too. And the devil has his own little minions and Satan worshipers, and he wants those people to destroy humanity. The devil is happiest when people are in pain. The devil is happiest when you're homeless. The devil is happiest when you're struggling. And yeah, exactly. So if you believe that he exists, you have to call out those people that are doing evil shit. Shout out to Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. Good to see you guys. There's a lot to talk about. Listen, one thing my grandmother raised me to do: speak my mind. I'll leave you this last thing that she told me in life. She said, in life, you're going to go through a journey, and she's like, you're going to meet a lot of people, and you're going to have a lot of different times. And sometimes you're gonna want to bite your tongue. You're going to want to hold back. You're going to want to not say something, and then you're going to go days and weeks and months, and one day you're going to go to your death, and you're going to look back at that time, and you're going to say, I wish I would have opened my mouth. I wish I would have said something. It could be maybe because you wish you would have said something to a pretty girl who might have been the love of your life. It could have been something that you wish you would have said something to get a job, which would have been the greatest lesson of your life. It could have been just an opinion that you would have given. She's like, never, ever leave something unsaid. You will go to your grave a happy man if you speak your mind. And literally, she told me that over and over and over and over again. And I realized that as I've grown my life, yeah, sometimes I've said some things and people have said, well, they're not going to do business with you because you said so and so. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks. I wanted that deal. And I realized it's okay. I was never meant to do business with that guy. That guy was never going to be part of my life. Or maybe I offended some girl and she was pretty. And I'm like, oh man, I really wanted to go out to dinner with her. And at the end of the day, I heard my grandmother's voice saying, it's okay. Speak your mind. You will live a good life. You will go to your grave a happy man. By the way, when I do get buried, guys, I'll be the guy with a huge smile on my face. Well, there's something I'll share with you. There's something I'll share with everyone that's watching this. Leaders speak up. Followers cover their mouth. At the end of the day, you get a choice every single moment of your day. Are you going to lead or follow? Lead or follow? Lead or follow? And by the way, here's an old saying: lead, follow, or get the fuck out of my way. Exactly. In life, it's you live a better life when you pick a side, one side or the other, versus trying to stay right in the middle. There's some people that are politicians. I just want to stay right in the middle. I don't want to offend this guy. I don't want to offend this girl. I don't want to offend these people. I want to stay right here in the middle. I got news for you. I'm okay being out over here. If it offends you that I'm over here, that's okay. I respect that. Go fuck yourself. You got it. Hey, I can't thank you enough. This has been a great talk. It's funny. You started off going, "What do you want to talk about?" And now, an hour and 13 minutes later, would you have guessed that we were going to talk about all these things? It's organic. I promise you this: anybody that's watching this episode, they're going to pull some things of value that is going to help them change their life in one way or the other. Or they're going to go door to door selling 3 packs of pizza. Yeah. Well, I got news for you. Don't use the pizza scrape. And by the way, that's another lesson to be learned. In life, they give you the script in college. Get a college degree, then go get a job, and then work at that job for 40 years. And then at the end of those 40 years, you'll have money saved up and you can live the rest of your life till you die in a good life. Okay, that's the script that everyone's getting handed. Fuck that script. That script is bullshit these days. First of all, college is a scam. Why the fuck would you get $120,000 in debt for 4 years, and now you're working from the hole, and you literally have and it's a debt you can't even bankrupt, you can't even get away from. You got to pay every penny of that debt, unless you're Joe Biden. You miraculously wipe out the debt, but guess what? That's not how math works. You can't just poof, it's gone. No, that means somebody else paid your debt for you, taxpayers. But we're not even going to talk about that. At the end of the day, college is a scam. That script that they're giving all these kids, it's bullshit. Let me give you the best script. Pursue your passion. Whatever you love in life, pursue it. Listen, each day we're only given one day at a time. Tomorrow's not here yet. Yesterday's gone. We're given today. In today, you got 24 hours. 8 of them, you're going to sleep. God bless you. Get some sleep. You need it. 8 of them, you're going to work. You're going to do something to generate income. The other 8, hopefully you'll have time for your puppies, your family, your friends, whatever you want to do. Sports, watch TV, knit, whatever you want to do. That's how each day pretty much breaks down. Well, I got news for you. 1/3 of your life is going to be spent sleeping. So that's gone. So half of your life, probably in most cases more than half, but half of your life is going to be doing something to make money. If half of your life is doing something to make money that you don't love, that you're not passionate about, you are going to build a miserable fucking life. Find something that is your passion, and believe me, when you turn your passion into your purpose, I guarantee you, whether you know it or not, the money will come to you like a river. You just don't have to worry about it. If you chase money, it will never come. If you chase a passion, if you chase passion with a purpose, it will come to you. You just have to have faith. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. Well, that's the thing, is they've got people in this whole like script of life, and they've got for years and decades, go to college, get in debt, build a life, die, whatever. And that script is fucking insane. That's the most insane shit I've ever seen in my life. And I want people to know, don't follow that bullshit script. Maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't. Don't. Follow your passion and your purpose in life, whatever it is. It can be anything. And by the way, the more people that laugh at you when you follow your passion and purpose, the more you're probably on the right path. The more that you're probably the next Steve Jobs, or you're the next Albert Edison. Albert, was it Albert Edison, or who's Edison, the guy that found electricity? Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein. Yeah, be be unique, be different, step out from the crowd. Listen, it's okay to step out from the crowd. Don't worry about having followers or not. Though if you got one follower, that's great. You know what? If that one follower is God, that's the only one you need. And guess what? When you wake up every day, God grabs a big bag of popcorn and he can't wait to see what you're going to do. He's like, all right, this is the day. This is the day. This is the day. Watch this. This is going to, I made this human being. I made this person, and they're going to do something great today. And he eats that popcorn. He can't wait to see it from you. And you got to believe in yourself as much as God believed in you when he brought you here. You got to have faith in yourself. You got to be your biggest cheerleader. Today is your day. You're given today. Tomorrow's not here. Yesterday's already gone. Make today a winner. Win this day. Make today count. Where are you out of, by the way? How about you come to Vegas for the Bitcoin conference? I'm hosting a private dinner, and I'll give you an all access pass. You'll literally come as a guest. It's in May. You got plenty of time. It's in May. And I think you'll literally love being in Vegas for that period of time. And you'll meet some amazing people that are in the Bitcoin space. I mean, it's either her or your girlfriend. You got to figure out one or the other. Listen, if you bring your wife, you both have an all access pass to the dinner. Just jump on a plane. You know, if you need a recommendation for a hotel, I'll give you a couple of them. There's plenty of nice places to stay. I promise you this: the month of May is a great month to be in Vegas because it's not insanely hot yet, and it's not cold. It's actually really good weather, and you'll get a chance to go hang out in the hot tub or the pool or walk the strip. I mean, you'll really enjoy. By the way, just FYI, go get yourself some SPF 50. Maybe get it all over you. People don't realize the sun in Vegas is different than the sun anywhere else. You get some really strong sun. And by the way, get a good hat. Wear a good hat. I have a bunch of hats, and I tell people, listen, wear a hat. Hat's a good thing. Well, I got news for Well, I got news for you. America is doing the right things for its people, and it's a long time coming. The people are what make this country great, and the bureaucrats, they were stealing so much money from the taxpayers, and people were paying more taxes not because we needed to, but because we were feeding the thieves. And when the thieves are in charge, when the thieves are in control, when the wolf is in the hen house, the eggs get eaten, the hens get eaten. And it's sad to say, we've turned our back on homeless Americans. We've turned our back on elderly. We've got to go back and we got to fix America. We got to make America a better place. And we got to start taking care of our homeless people. Because guess what? Those people, maybe they need counseling, maybe they need a mindset adjustment, maybe they just need a place to stay and shower and get their life re-straightened out. Maybe they need help getting off of drugs. Whatever that is a bigger focus than sending money to some midget comedian in Ukraine and supposedly funding democracy. How can you fund democracy when the little midget comedian doesn't let elections happen? Well, no, no, no. That's actually true. I think because he actually probably didn't get all the money we sent because we both know that Nancy and Chuck and all the little criminals, they probably took as much as they could. Yeah, even criminals tell the truth once in a while. I promise you this: you will meet amazing people who believe in freedom, who believe in independence, who believe in sovereignty. And when you start learning about how bad our current money situation is, the US dollar is in a bad place. The US banking system is in a bad place. And when you take control of your own money through Bitcoin, literally you become the bank, you control your money, it changes your whole perspective on everything. Brock, I got to tell you, this is one of my favorite interviews I've done in a long time. I fucking love this show. I mean, this was the best hour and 23 minutes. My dog's been telling me we're under attack from the Amazon driver, and I just left him barking all around in the background. I just wanted to keep talking to you, and I could tell you more stuff and more stories, but I think an hour and a half is pretty good for people to digest this. Brock, thank you very much, man. Is that it? You there, Brock?